Hey, Reliability Gang, I'm Jonathan Guiney.
And I'm Brendon Russ, and this is Reliability Radio, a JLL production and ReliabilityWeb.com media brand.
All right, everybody, we're here at Maximo World out here in Arizona this week, having a great time. Our next guest is Jim Barlow from JLLT. Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, good to be here.
Jim, how are you enjoying Maximo World this year?
It's been fantastic. There's a lot of joking about the heat outside, but there's a lot of heat inside the building as we look at what to do about real estate and facilities portfolios.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff. What are some of the themes that you guys are working through in 2024? What are you seeing out there from real estate professionals, global real estate companies that are out there managing? What's the big theme?
Well, it's sort of in two parts. Contraction, as JLL, one of our recent research studies talked about, finally we're seeing a contraction in the market following the pandemic and different ways of working. We're expecting 30 million square feet of space to leave the corporate portfolios in the U.S. alone. So what's that do? It's all about the traditional argument of utilization, but it means something different these days. They have to figure out how to make sure that they're fully utilizing the assets and right-sizing the portfolio.
Sounds like you got to get pretty creative on some of your solutions. What are some of the things you guys are working on today?
Well, it's really key to be able to look further out in the planning cycle, to ask early, what's your forecast? Are you expecting growth, and in which places, which buildings? The whole world's really changing through all of this. It's not just about how to use your existing assets, but as the talent pool is moving, that the high-performing organizations want to make sure that they close down certain locations, grow in the right places. It's really about holding their talent and being competitive.
Is that something that you guys don't focus on today, whether it's a talent piece or the forward-looking projection? Is that something that you see a gap in general industry today, or are people doing it just not as well as they should be?
It's been talked about for many years. Certainly the pandemic accelerated that process. And I think it's really kind of profound that the groups who already had a program in place reacted better going into the pandemic. Certainly it's not a once and done. After all, we're just now a couple of years supposedly coming out of it, thinking about what we're doing with our buildings, which ones need to run full, which ones should be shuttered part-time, how we should scale as people do come into the office, which buildings and assets to shut down.
You can't shelf it, right? It's a living, breathing document or system that you're really trying to use to inform some decision makings. You also mentioned the people part of it. How important are people today? You mentioned kind of the exodus, right? There's people leaving the organization. There's a lot of knowledge that's been retained over the years. How important to that is, from a Maximo implementation, TRIRIGA, what does that look like?
So it's definitely about skill. I think the concept is this is as much art as it is science. There's a saying I like that data is the new oil. It's really been a several year running cycle to focus on analytics and have the foundation content. But if you're not already collecting the data, you have to be doing it at this point. You have to move forward. The art piece is really about trying to understand where the intangibles, what's going on in the organization and what the data really means for them at that moment, and to be able to adapt to what's coming next week that you're not even aware of.
The people that you're talking to get that data set, are they really in tune with the organizational objectives, longer term vision, strategies? Is there a gap there between the people that you work with today and higher level leadership? Or
I think the organizations themselves are in a very reactive mode. What do we really need? The idea that we're just now seeing mandates for return to office or hybrid models, and with the sort of the end of the quitting cycle, stabilization of workforces, all of that has echoes through the organization. You have to be ready to react, and certainly planning is a high-skilled situation. To your point, I think the key is getting close to those who know exactly what's going on in the organization, influxes, outfluxes, program-oriented organizations that might turn over overnight, to be ready to support all those kinds of dynamics.
And I think there's a huge people aspect of that, though, right? Even though there's the demand to come back and get people in the office and in the workplace and occupy these spaces, some people just aren't going to do it, right? And they're going to find alternate solutions for maybe employment or their ways of working. Is that a struggle today? Do you get a lot of feedback from your end customers? Like, how do I manage this? Is that something you guys get involved with?
Absolutely. I think no one wants to be the first one. Everyone wants to recognize the opportunities, what they have to do to be positioned and ready for that. But you don't want to be the organization that sees the outflow. we see this concept of making sure that the workplace is a place people want to go. And that's as much about talent as you think generationally through the workforce. Also as a way to draw people. Is this a place I want to work, not on day one, but a year in? Do I still feel like I'm aligned to the organization? So the workplace really plays into that overall experience, really the health of the entire corporate organization.
So it's really nice to have these cool, like futuristic places to work, right? Beautiful scenes around the office, window views. But how does Maximo help to increase that that experience for the end user?
Well, you want to make sure that the facilities are all operating at peak capability. There's an element towards design, making sure that we're turning over space as we think about the older spaces don't end up being the place where people want to sit when they go into the office. It might actually lead to a self-defeating situation where the buildings and properties that aren't keeping current aren't the ones that people want to go to. Well, all that plays together from capital projects, from the assets, the efficiency of the building when you run your major equipment. To your point, there's definitely a focus on upgrading the space and maintaining the so-called cool spaces. We call it the flight to quality.
But what about Maximo as a product? I mean, are your end users using Maximo to either put in a request or figure out conference room situations or anything else? How do you really integrate that function?
So I think the key is to pull all of that content. It's both the soft services, the hard services, all aspects of the facility. There's some cool things going on in the space that have been explained more fully even this week at Maximo World. The convergence of TRIRIGA with Maximo. So you really extend the same concept of having sort of a single plate of glass for all of the operations. The whole point is we want to make sure that the building's operating at its peak capacity to support the load and to be a comfortable place. People don't have to think about, the heating condition is different than last week when no one was in the office, or certainly the other direction, to make sure that we're not running and operating the building at full capacity from a load perspective that is underutilized.
And then we were just in the TRIRIGAWorld, Maximo World Awards, and they start talking about sensor technology and integrating all that with how they do occupancy planning control and the like. Are you guys getting into that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly there's an abundance of tools out there, and it's easy to get caught up with the pursuit of the perfect product or the perfect manufacturer of device. I think the ecosystem is the key. It's about that data concept. We need to make sure that we're able to manage the key influx points, whether that's walking in the front door, dwelling in a particular space, understanding how people are working, where they're working, so that we can position the assets and the energy use, really manage the whole system towards that common end.
That's great. Let's switch gears a little bit more and just talk a little bit about the people piece of it again, right? So IBM Champions, what is it?
So it's all about advocacy. IBM has a program sponsored where they're trying to help unlock the tools capabilities, find the best use cases to be able to bring that to their clients to solve problems. So as an IBM champion, I'm looking to work with all the JLLT client base on how to solve their problems, meet their actual business needs. We're a fully developed systems integrator, but my focus then is on solving problems, getting to the bottom. What's the pain point? Let's unpack that, develop actionable strategies to get there.
So true SME, subject matter expert in the space of IBM integrations, all those different things that you do. I mean, is that something that a local end user that's out there, database administrator, is that something that they should be integrated with or understand or have that sort of certification? Or is it something really more for providers?
It's actually on both sides. There's definitely a big push. Initially, it was the systems integrator side, but now to get business communities involved, I think that's the key consideration. There's a lot of technology there, but first and foremost, to be about the processes, the business space, to be in the middle of what should work order management process be? How do you really develop the full life cycle of an asset? How do you tie that into capitalization and into the way that the space is being planned and used or planned for decommissioning?
So, I mean, when you think about that, right, you're going in and you're working with a client, you're sitting down at the table, you're really trying to understand all of their wants, needs, desires, how we can integrate them into Maximo. I guess one of the biggest things, though, is having somebody across the table in that seat from the client side that understands the inner workings of Maximo to really help to provide the best solution overall. I mean, it sounds like that's a great opportunity for other organizations to think about getting people that are IBM champions as well, not just the service providers.
Right. We definitely want to see the client's ultimate goals achieved. The technology is the enabler, and it really comes down to making sure that your strategy, your governance, your data, and your processes are all falling in line. Having technology, the best technology in the world, and not having good processes and not having the data to support it doesn't do you any good. So that's really the goal, is to make sure that we're taking the appropriate action, put people on a journey, and getting the full value out of the whole program, the humans as well as the technology.
So you guys are here every year. Year to year, there's a ton of different opportunities, different challenges. What else are you guys working on today? What else is kind of eating your client's lunch? Things that we're working out for, the new things that are coming out with IBM. What are you guys focused on?
I think if I were to say a single concept, it would be user experience. It's that idea that we need to make sure the solutions are really easy to use, whether you look at it from the perspective of the turnover in staff and the knowledge exit, or the idea that we want to see higher and higher efficiency, or we want to press the processes out to the boundaries, go all the way upstream so that just a tenant in a building is able to provide you good insight. It takes making sure that the solutions just makes sense. So we spend a lot of time really thinking about how we can present the right content at the right time. There's a lot of concepts out there for UX apps, and we've spent here at the event a lot of time focusing on innovations.
If you could leave our listeners just one little nugget about Maximo, use capabilities, something that you tell your clients every day or reinforce, what's that piece of information?
I think it's a journey. Take the time, plan it out well, allow yourself the freedom to really iterate. Don't try to do it all at once. Let's solve one problem one day at a time, and you'll get the best advantage. You'll probably even course correct and end up in a little different place than you would have had you just planned for a single large project. So give yourself the opportunity to adapt as you see the expression of the tool sets and the data, recognize new findings, and then incorporate it the next day, those same findings.
So you don't have to be perfect out of the gate. 80/20 is okay. Continuous improvement is where it is, and continue to push forward.
Absolutely. Iterate. Let's get that tool that really makes sense for where you're at today, and then keep growing.
Awesome, Jim. I really appreciate the conversation. I hope you guys have a great rest of the Maximo World session down here. Always great to talk to you. And for all of our listeners out there, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Thank you.